It's Gringus or
It's
no
Gingras.
Gingras.
It's Gingras. It's okay.
Gingras.
Okay. It's French. Welcome inside MASL Midweek with Michelle Gingras. I'm Michelle Gingras, and my guest this week is Nick Vasos, who is the play-by-play announcer for the Kansas City Comets. You've been doing this now for 26 years. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to the indoor game. When it comes to the Comets, they're off to such a hot start this season. But before we dive into all of that, I just want to talk a little bit about you and about your background, so fans who maybe don't know you can get a little bit more familiar with you as well. You're also an anchor and reporter in Kansas City, Fox 4 News, on the morning show, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So early mornings for you. I have a lot of questions about that in general as well, just how you structure your day. But let's start with that, actually. Take me through what a typical day in the life is like for you.
Well, let's see here. My alarm goes off at 2:26 in the morning every day. And the reason why I say 2:26 is because I love even numbers. I do not like odd numbers. So I set my alarm clock to even numbers. I pump my gas with even numbers. Yeah, there's more to the story about that, but we'll leave that for another time. But 2:26 is when I get up. I'm usually in the studio a little before 3:30 in the morning, and my broadcast day starts at 4:30, and I'm on the air until 10 o'clock every day, grinding out, what is that, 5.5 hours, 6 hours of live television every day, whatever it is. I've been doing it for 19 years now and started back in 2002. My broadcasting career started early in radio with, working morning shows and doing news updates, sports updates, and also doing some traffic in Kansas City. And so from there, it kind of morphed into an opportunity to get into television in 2002. And somebody suggested that I apply at Fox 4. And sure enough, I did. And when I started in 2002, I was flying around in a helicopter for 8 years. I was the reporter, the pilot was next to me, and I controlled the cameras. And so we would go out and cover car chases and fires and breaking news and, all kinds of stuff in the helicopter. It was really, really fun. But the what was that? The financial kind of meltdown in 2008 sort of left everybody's marketing budget kind of in shambles, So
right, yeah,
it was either kind of a helicopter or jobs. And so thank goodness our station chose jobs, and the helicopter went away. But we really haven't missed it with technology these days. You can see all kinds of stuff with traffic cameras. We also have drones that you can use in covering news now. So it really hasn't been missed. And I started anchoring back in 2008, and that kind of leads me up to where I am right now with anchoring the morning news and doing some reporting on the side as well.
Fantastic. So you mentioned, you said it's a story for another time, the 2:26, but why the round numbers? Does that just help you? Some people have their things that just kind of helps them start their day the right way, whether it's, before you get up, you either meditate for a few minutes or you set your clock at a certain time. Why for you is that time important to just kind of start your day the right way?
Yeah, that's, what? I'm not sure that anybody has really ever asked me why. And I just feel more comfortable with even numbers. I mean, I guess they're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's kind of a rhythm to, I guess, even numbers if you're going that way. And odd numbers don't always are like sequential in terms of I don't want to get too deep. I really
get
don't
it.
know.
No. You sound like, I feel like you're trying to explain yourself. I totally understand it, especially with like these little nuances. Sometimes those are just things that kind of help you to, like I said, just get your day started on the right foot.
And maybe it's sort of like, if I don't set my alarm at like even numbers, then maybe there's a chance that there could be a bad day ahead, and I don't want to have a bad day.
Oh boy, so we're superstitious. There's some superstition involved, right? Is that the word we're looking for?
You nailed it, Michelle. Yeah. That's exactly it. Thank you.
I cover hockey players, so I'm very familiar as well with the superstitions and the game day superstitions. Not as much with soccer with the guys that I've covered and spoken to about their superstitions. Not at all in the same way. Yeah. Okay, so for all the aspiring journalists that are tuning in to watch this podcast, there's a little history and background just on your career and where you are now from that standpoint. Now, for all the soccer fans that are following us right now, let's transition and talk a little bit about the Comets and just you as well with how, because you said, like I said, 26 years of now. I know you've seen different iterations of the league, right?
Hmm.
And how it's evolved. So from where you started to now, just take me through what's kind of stood out to you the most.
Well, I'd say the first thing would be my first game, my introduction into professional indoor soccer was back in 1996, and I was hired by Zoran Savic of the Kansas City Attack. And um, I'd done all my research, I'd practiced, I'd looked at the history of the game, but nothing could prepare you for going into the Bradley Center in downtown Milwaukee. And we started our 96-97 season on the road at the Bradley Center. And as a radio guy in that time, you were hauling around all kinds of equipment. You had wires, and
Mhm.
you had headphones and amplifiers and recorders and mixers and everything. And you had to carry that with you. You had to get set up on there, and then you had to get all of your notes ready. And then when the game begins, you look up at this crowd at the Bradley Center, and there are 15,000 people in the stands yelling, screaming for the Wave. And the Wave had a great team back in the mid '90s. Michael King and Noguera, and the list goes on in Milwaukee. But the first game, I was hooked. I was so impressed. Comets, or excuse me, the Attack did not win that first game, but boy, was it close. And ever since then, I have been hooked. It was an amazing sight. And Milwaukee always has kind of a special place in my heart because of their fans, one, and their franchise. Kind of like our franchise, we have been for about 40 years. We have had professional indoor soccer in our
Right.
city. So that was the first game. And then since then, probably just traveling all around with the team, going through each season was the best part of it. To me, as a play-by-play voice and being a part of a team, there's nothing quite like it because you really get to know the players, you get to know the coaches, and you get to go through the ups and the downs of a season. And in the end, you know what it takes to win a championship. And I wish our team had won more championships, because that first year we won an NPSL title in 96, 97. It was my rookie year. So I was still learning a lot of
Mm.
things about the
Hmm.
game, about broadcasting, about making myself better, and then also giving fans insights as to what the team is and what the team is about. So I learned a lot in that first year, including a championship, and it was so much fun, so much fun. And there's nothing like going through a season and experiencing that with the players. It was a lot of fun.
I can't even imagine. So it seems like you kind of learned that job on the fly. And you mentioned even getting into television. That was like someone just kind of encouraged you to get into television, and then you kind of
Yeah.
picked that job up on the fly as well. What are the challenges of doing something like that? You mentioned also it was a championship year and the nerves associated with it. There's a little bit of like kind of faking it till you make it in broadcasting, even when you're new to something, even if you
Yeah.
have familiarity with the sport. So how did you balance all of that?
Well, you got to do the hard things, which is you've got to listen to yourself. And that's not always pleasant because you're making your mistakes out in front of everybody.
Mhm.
But uh, you have to do it in order to avoid making that mistake again. So that would be one tip that I would offer somebody who wants to be a play-by-play voice is you have to listen to yourself. You have to listen to your mistakes. And you also have to be willing to try new things along the way in order to get better. And you also have to be willing to accept criticism from people and not take it personally because I've been doing this for a long time, but man, have I made a lot of mistakes, and I still do today. And
Mm.
I still listen to myself, and I still try to get better with every game, and have an open mind about it.
Mhm.
But also, you have to love what you do, and I don't think there's any better job than doing play by play, and to do it for the Comets for all these years has really just been a privilege. It's it's a lot of fun. I just love it.
That was, I mean, you mentioned you were hooked from game 1. When did you think, "Wow, like, I could actually make a real career out of this, that, like, 26 years later, I could still be the voice of a team?"
I wasn't so sure. I didn't know. I was, every year, you wait for a phone call, and you say,
Mhm.
well, you're going to have me back, this year. And sure enough, I would come back and, and try to get better and try to do things in a better way. And a lot of times they ask you to do things a new way, and you would have to adapt to that, whether it was new technology or new ways of broadcasting or
Mm-hmm.
or different formats for different stations, whether it's a pre-recorded broadcast or something that's live. Uh, you just learn so much the more experience that you gain. And
Mm.
for someone who wants to be in broadcasting, experience is the key. Yeah, education and writing will help you
Mm-hmm.
along the way, but experience on camera or in front of the mic or on the microphone will help you more than anything else in your career.
Let's talk about the team right now. They've won the first 5 games to kick off the season. Nice mix of veterans, but also some youth really helping to kind
Hmm.
of propel this team, I guess, through the first 5 so far. So, initial impressions before we do a deeper dive, what's standing out to you the most about this team this year?
I think the Comets are doing a lot of things well. I think this team has a chance to be special this year. Brian Budzinski, who is the managing partner for the Comets, has built yet another team. He has a way of putting teams together. He did it in the early 2000s and built a champion in 13 and 14 that won an MISL championship before we switched over to the MASL. And he's
Mm-hmm.
done it again, and he has really built a core. And just like you pointed out, Michelle, this team has a mix of veteran players with a lot of experience, and then we also have a core group of young players who are very talented and I mean, they are really producing well. And then there's certain role players who have
Mm-hmm.
accepted their role and doing very well. And then we have a goalkeeper in Neto who's in his 3rd year. And this kid just keeps getting better and better and better. So there's a lot of things working together for Leo Gibson's Comets team, and Leo himself. He is the points leader right now at 14 points. And I tell you, this guy, Leo Gibson, Leo legend, Leo the Great, was what I call him. He just it's incredible. His career is just it's unbelievable. I mean, he's one of the
Mm-hmm.
greats in this game, like Taiyu, like Bennett, Leo Gibson. They're all in the same kind of stratosphere in terms of
Mm-hmm.
great players in this game.
What do you think sets him apart, with and puts him up there with the greats? Not even just obviously his play on the field, but just it's a unique dynamic. A player coach isn't something you often hear about. And
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what that's like day to day for other players on the team. And so for you covering the team, like how do you see that play out daily? What does that look like?
I see. Um, Leo is he is consistent. He
Mm,
is reliable. He cares. He's smart. He knows the game. He's a caring coach. If you know Leo, he is a man of God, and he loves his players. He loves this game. And when God made Leo, they threw away the mold because I don't know of another player who can hold his balance on the field while somebody who is 6'4" over his back, and Leo can somehow maneuver his way through traffic, not lose his balance, and still be able to fire off a shot at the goal. I mean,
yeah.
his balance, the way he's built, and his personality, his calmness. There's so many intangibles about Leo that makes him such a great player and a great person and a perfect fit for the Comets to lead the younger players, to teach them the game when they're
Mm-hmm.
here. Because some of these 2nd-year players, these rookies that we have on the team, are still learning and will learn throughout the rest of the regular season.
Do you feel like, and I guess it kind of sounds like you do, that the youth on the team have been very receptive to that, like almost like a trickle down effect, like he's leading by example, and that you're seeing now these guys that are in their first, second, or third years that are seeing, okay, this is how it's done. This is how you find success in this league, and learning from him as you kind of go.
No doubt about it, Michelle. There was a recent article in the Kansas City Star, and it talked about Leo's coaching style, and it also made note of uh, Leo sort of wanting to maybe enter into the next chapter of his soccer life, and that would be full-time coaching. And
Okay.
I'm not saying that Leo wants to get away from playing, but I think he's starting to look ahead beyond his playing career right now. He's not a young buck anymore, but he's still very productive. And the balance of being a very productive player, a player who is considered one of the elite players, and then Leo also wanting to continue his coaching career as a Comets is a balance that I think he's thinking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got an assistant coach in Stefan Stokic who also had a lot of experience in the indoor game, and he listens to Stefan. And Stefan is sort of almost a counterbalance to Leo. While
Mm,
Leo maybe want to lean towards stopping playing and extending his coaching career, Stefan is sort of the guy in the back of his head that says, "But wait, Leo, you're the leading scorer in the MASL. You're the points leader. You're
Yeah.
still
You still
productive
got
for
it.
this
Yeah.
team. You still got it." And this
Yeah.
team really, this team needs you. It's one thing to coach from the bench and then also to coach from the field as well. So
What
I
do you
think
think?
there's just a real nice balance with Leo and assistant coach Stefan. Those two have a real good relationship, coaching relationship.
What do you think he means? We talk so much about indoor soccer and kind of from the grassroots level, like really involving the community. It's like a hands-on approach. Players are out in the community. So what does he mean to the city of Kansas City? And what do the Comets mean to the city of Kansas City?
Well, for Leo, there's a lot of kids that Leo is their favorite player. My son, when he was about it was about 3 years ago, Leo Gibson was his favorite player. If you ask a lot of kids that come to those games, they'll say the number 14, Leo Gibson, is their favorite player. And the Comets, before COVID, after every game, would welcome down fans and kids down to the field and would sign autographs after every single home game, which was just something that fans, season ticket holders, young kids just absolutely loved. And I think that's part of it. And then what was the second half of your question, Michelle?
Just what the team in general means to Kansas City, to the city. I mean, it's been, you mentioned 40 years. So something's working, something's clicking and resonating. What do you think it is that makes them so special there?
Well, they call us here in Kansas City the soccer capital of America. And I'll let the viewers here decide whether Kansas City is or not. But we like to think that we are, because we have a lot of soccer opportunities here in Kansas City, and the Comets are one of them. And there's a place. Our fans are very loyal. Started back in the early '80s with the original Comets. And if you didn't know, the Kansas City Kings were a part of the NBA then, and the Kansas City Scouts were a part of the National Hockey League. And the Kansas City Comets played at the old Kemper Arena down in the stockyards. And in the early '80s, the Comets routinely outdrew the Kansas City Kings and outdrew the Kansas City Scouts. And while the Comets did not win an MASL championship or acquire a lot of hardware, they sure did win the hearts and minds of fans in the early '80s. And there are still fans today who are out there who remember going to games at Kemper Arena. I was one of them as a kid, going to those games at Kemper Arena, and they remember those days. And so there's still some familiarity of those people out there. But there is also a lot of people who we haven't reached yet to show them how great this game is and to get them out there. And I think that's a great opportunity coming up towards the end of January when we have our game, January 22nd, out at T-Mobile Center. And that's our big arena that we have in downtown Kansas City. That's a beautiful arena. And we're going to play some indoor soccer inside T-Mobile Center. And we're going to have thousands of people there. And I think it's going to be a chance for us to reintroduce this great game of indoor soccer to Kansas City and those who are going to be coming from all over the place to Kansas City during that week.
Absolutely. Two questions, because one was going to be, what do you think the next step is for this league? Where do we go now from here? Obviously, new ownership, new leadership, a lot of positives to take away from that, a lot of excitement around, especially after the COVID years, to kind of just, hit the ground running again. So that's one question. So what do you think the next step is for this league to just continue to just attract more and more fans to watch indoor soccer, which is such an exciting game once you start watching it? I mean, I hadn't really watched it much until I was doing this. And now I find myself following along, and it's so fast, and it's like, you can't even look away. It reminds me a little bit like hockey from that perspective. You really got to keep your eye on what's going on almost at all times. So go ahead. What do you think? What's your play there for how we can spin this forward?
Yeah, well, I know that the commissioner, as well as Shep and JP, they are all working on a lot of things that are going to increase the visibility of the MASL. And I think that's the biggest thing, is getting more people either out to our games or getting people to watch our games. And that means being able to have our game available across many different areas, whether it's across the internet, maybe it's across a broadcast network, maybe it's through some sort of digital campaign. I mean, there are a lot of different things that we can do as a league in order to grow our exposure. And I think we can do that. I've already seen firsthand with meetings with JP and with Commissioner Tozer about heightening our broadcasts, making our broadcasts better, bringing our level of just bringing our level up. And and I think that's happening, and I think we're getting better at that. And I think with that, just as long as just keep on keeping on. That this latest run here in the MASL is, there's been interruptions in the league before, but we've still kept going. But this is the longest iteration in terms of the Major Arena Soccer League, and I'm proud of what the league has built. And I think we just need to keep chopping wood. We got to keep sawing away at this sucker and just keep going. And eventually, we're going to pop through and we're going to get to where we want to be.
And you mentioned this earlier, just being willing to adapt, right? And everything you do in life, right? You have to be willing to adapt and to be comfortable with change and trying to find ways to make things better, whether it's in your broadcasting career, whether it's new technology that you have to get comfortable using. So from a broadcast standpoint, or a product on the field, or just how you connect with fans in the digital space now, like everything has changed or evolved, I guess I should say, even from just a few years ago. So I agree with you with the keep on keeping on approach and just being adaptable and wanting to find new ways to connect. I think that's one thing that definitely will attract new fans. And my other question for you, that you mentioned, you grew up, you said, going to games, and now you're the play-by-play voice. Like, for you, is it a very full circle feeling to be getting to cover these games? Like, how do you describe that feeling?
Well, I as an opportunity. Every game is an opportunity for me, and I do a lot of preparation before the games. I study, of course, our team, and I study the visiting team, and then I also study the whole league as a whole. And I try to not just try to find stats and numbers, but maybe some storylines and talk a little bit about the players. And the game is an opportunity for you to meet a moment. And if I were to also have another message for broadcasters, and that is, you have an opportunity to have a moment with someone who is watching your game. And the only way that you're going to meet that moment is if you prepare for the games and you prepare for something that you may not use. You may not use 70% of what you prepared for, but there could be one or two moments in your broadcast where you did prepare for that moment and you met that moment, either saying something, it was a goal, or if it was it was a save, or there was a controversy, or just, it could be anything, but there's certain moments throughout a game. And the only way that you can achieve that is through preparation in your broadcast. And for me, that's it. I'm looking for an opportunity to have a moment with somebody there. And I don't always meet the moment, but I always try. I'm going to try my dangest to try to meet that moment. I might flub it out. You can ask my broadcast partner, Eric Bergrud. I make mistakes all the time, but I like to say I'm making my mistakes going 90 miles an hour. So I'm going to try to go for it every time. But it's really, it's an opportunity, and it's exciting, to see what happens. I mean, those, you've got the game, you don't know what's going to happen. You've got elements of the game, and you want to tell a story. You want to, you get to think about who's watching your games, who's your audience, and give them something, give them something new, give them something to see for a first time. So opportunities.
That's great. Well, fantastic advice for young aspiring journalists. Fantastic stuff for soccer fans today as well. I really enjoyed catching up with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this and sharing your background a little bit. This was a really, really nice chat. Oh, my blanket just fell off my chair. So, but no, really, Nick, thank you so much, and best of luck to Kansas City this year. They're off to such a great start. I guess if I could leave you with one parting question before we go, though, what do you think is the next step for them? What does this team need to do to take the next step to really be that special team, as you kind of alluded to earlier on?
Well, the Comets are going to be on the road for the next 3 games, excuse me, and they're going to return home on January 22nd. And that's going to be a big weekend, not only for us, but also for the MASL, because in late January, beginning on the 20th, the United Soccer's Coaches Association is going to be in Kansas City that weekend. It's going to start on Thursday, January 20th, and it's going to conclude on Sunday. And the MASL is going to be a big part of the United Soccer Coaches Convention inside of Sprint Center. There's going to be, it's the biggest soccer convention of soccer coaches in the world, and it's going to begin on Thursday. So Thursday, January 20th at 4 o'clock, I am going to have the privilege and the honor of hosting an MISL symposium with Commissioner Keith Tozer, with Chairman Shep Messing, and with Director of Communications and Broadcasting, J.P. Dellacamera. We are going to talk about the very first day back in the late 70s when you saw Keith Tozer in those short shorts and long red hair playing for the Cincinnati Kids back in the day. We'll also talk to Shep Messing. What was it like playing, with the New York Arrows? How many times did he go to Club 54?
Oh gosh, we have some stories.
And then JP Dellacamera, we'll talk about what was it like broadcasting in the MISL back in the early days, back in the days of the 80s, and how fun that was. So again, that's going to be on Thursday the 20th. And for people who are watching this broadcast, Kansas City ticket holders have an opportunity to go see that. If you're a season ticket holder, you can go see that. So consider getting some season tickets to come see that. And then the next night, Friday night. Sorry, Michelle. The next night, Friday night,
good.
We're going to have a meet and greet at Johnny's, which is across the street from T-Mobile Center. And from 5 to 8, we're going to have indoor professionals. I think even the commissioner's office are going to be there mingling around with fans and players. I'll be there. My broadcast partner, Eric Bergrud, will be there as well. 5 to 8, Friday night, Johnny's. Again, that's across the street from T-Mobile Center. And there'll be all kinds of indoor professionals from past, present. It's going to be so fun. We're going to be catching up with a lot of people who I haven't seen in a long time. And then and then it'll culminate on Saturday night when the Comets will host the Tacoma Stars at T-Mobile Center. And we are hoping and expecting thousands of people to fill that arena. And it's going to be so exciting, where the MASL is going to be a big part of this convention this year. And it's going to be really exciting, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
I can tell. And I would say just for the Shep Messing stories alone, it is worth getting a ticket to see that.
Now that we've made the connection, Michelle, you got to give me the dirt behind the scenes so I can surprise Shep.
I'll do it off camera. I'll do it for Shep's benefit. I'll do it off camera. But no, he's amazing. Great guy. I love broadcasting with him. But I just, like I said, we talk about growing the game. This is the way to do it right here. And if fans are interested, or maybe, you don't know too much about it, but you have some general interest, stop by and learn a little bit more. And 3 very, very interesting guests, like you mentioned, that you're going to get to chat with, all with unique stories and kind of how they've all come together. There's a lot to look forward to that weekend. So I'm excited for you. I can tell you are hyped and ready to go.
Awesome. Hey, great visiting with you, Michelle. Thanks a lot.
Great chatting with you as well. Thanks so much for taking the time. This is MASL Midweek with Michelle Gingras. You can catch these episodes every Wednesday right here. Thanks for stopping by.